Hello and welcome back to my channel. I haven't stayed to group today, which is quite unusual for me, but because of circumstances and a shortage of time, I made a decision to come away, and it does feel a bit odd, but I haven't missed a group in almost 3 years, and this is only the second one that I haven't actually stayed to. And I know for me it's really important to be there, but I just had to accept today that we had several things we needed to do this morning, and also the lunch out that I had planned last Saturday for Monday has been postponed and is now happening today. So I needed the time to actually do what I had to do and then get home, put my vlog up and then be ready to go out for lunch at 12:15. So that's why my video will be going up a bit earlier today. That's why I didn't stay to group. But yeah, I'm fine about not staying. It feels strange because it's like a really good 2 hours of my week well spent. But I'll be back there next week, and at least I did go and weigh in. Before I start talking about my weigh-in results and what I've been doing this week, I want to bring a couple of food items to you. The first one is these. I'm going to let Joe hold them because I have one because they feel good. These are painted hard-boiled eggs made by a company called Sun Fresh Foods. And I think these are dated early May. You buy them, they're ready hard boiled, and I'm going to tell you why they're painted. Apparently, when we hard boil eggs and keep them in our fridges, which I think a lot of us do that because they're a handy thing to pick up if you're hungry, they're a handy thing to pick up if you're on the go. We hard boiled eggs, we keep them in our fridge and they're porous. So they will absorb anything else that's in that fridge, any bacteria, any food smells and things like that. This company paint them to stop that happening. They're £1.75 for 6, and they feel really nice. They feel like they're lacquered. I'm not sure. Do they look like a marble effect?
They're shiny.
Yeah, but they actually feel like they're lacquered. They feel like they're not real eggs. Apparently, these hard-boiled eggs you can keep out in your kitchen. You don't keep them in the fridge, just keep them out in your kitchen. That'll work for me because I don't like cold hard-boiled eggs ice cold. I would always have to take mine out a couple of hours before I ate them. I was thinking this week, we talk about often needing to pick up food on the go. When we're cut out and we need something to eat, we're out shopping or something like that, out with friends. And we see the 2 little boiled eggs and a bit of spinach in little tubs that are currently being sold in supermarkets, and you can get them in Boots and places like that. They tend to retail around £1.20 for 2 eggs. These are £1.75 for 6 eggs. It couldn't be easier, could it? You know, you don't even have to bother to boil them, you just take them and go. And also because they're still in the shells, you shell it and eat it freshly. I'm always a bit dubious when I see them in Boots and Tesco's and Asda and places. Oh, and Aldi do them as well. I think, how long is it since that egg was shelled? You know, because it wasn't that day, was it? You're not eating it on the day it was shelled, and I would never shell them at home and not eat them on the day I shelled them. So that's just an idea if you're ever caught. I don't know whether other supermarkets do them. These are actually from Morrison's, and they're just called painted eggs. A lady brought some to group once for a taster, and we all thought they were a great idea. So I wanted to share those with you. Second item, that way around?
Other way around.
I'll pass it to you, you can show it again. Heinz tomato ketchup, no added salt, no added sugar. Now Joe found that this week. It's for Joe because he's the ketchup person in this house. He has been buying for quite some time the 50% one, haven't you? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what the sins is on that one because I've never eaten it. But this one, for a 425 gram bottle, put through the sin calculator because it's not on the app, is 3.5 sins for the whole bottle. Working it out from that, you could have 80 grams for half a sin. And 80 grams would be 1/7 of that bottle. So, you know, if you're going below that, you're starting to get into the quarter sins, or do I count it because it's negligible? And I'm not going to go into that because I'm not going to tell you whether to count it or not. I would, but you might not. But I do think for 3.5 sins for the entire bottle, it's really good. It's the sort of thing you could put out to barbecue with the weather getting better, and you can just squirt it onto your burger and not even worry about it because you're never going to have more than Well, if you had a quarter of the bottle, you'd still be only looking at 1 sin. So it's not the kind of thing you've got to faff around measuring at barbecues. Don't know what it tastes like, and I don't think you've opened it yet, have you?
No, not yet.
So it might be very tomatoey, and you might miss the sweetness if you're actually used to the full sugar ketchup. So it might be, if you want to change, go to the half one first and then move on, because it could be quite a contrast. And I don't really know how much it was. Can you remember?
No.
No. But that was Asda. So that was new in Asda this
Maybe
week.
like £2.
A couple of quid, okay. That's about the same as the others. So that was new in Asda this week. Right, let's go on to talking about my results. Excuse me, I had a pretty heavy Saturday with regard to food because of what was happening in our lives, but that was okay. It was one day, well, it was half a day actually, out of an entire week. The old me would have just thought, I've blown it, sod it, I'll go. Not just for a half day or a meal, I'll just carry on till I feel like starting again. But I don't do that now, and I feel glad that I don't do that now. So that happened, and then in our group last week, Naomi had said, who can do 7 days totally on plan? And I said I couldn't, but I did do 6 days totally on plan. I did Sunday to Friday, 100% on plan, 1 healthy extra A each day, 1 healthy extra B each day, and between 5 and I think 9 was my highest. So we'll say between 5 and 10 sins a day, but I think 9 was the highest I actually did. It might have been 9.5. And what result did I get? Stepped on scales this morning with the assistance of Joe because I wasn't staying to group, and lost 2.5 pounds. And I'm really happy with that result. For me, as a Target member, there are times when I feel like I can lighten up on myself a bit, and there are times when I feel like I need to really go back to what I call the basic plan, which is 1 healthy extra A, 1 healthy extra B, and 5 to 15 sins. And actually this week, doing that for 6 consecutive days was really refreshing because it kind of refocused me. I actually got my soup maker out and made some vegetable soup, really chunky vegetable soup. And then when I was eating it, I was thinking, remember what Joe says, it's not food optimizing, you've got no protein in this. So if you make a soup, which is just vegetables and a good stock, you're lacking protein. And Joe nags at me if I just have vegetable soup. And I'm not somebody for like having something on the side. So what I did was I got a packet of Asda's thick cut ham, which is £2, and it's absolutely lovely and it's not salty. And I cut it into tiny little cubes, a whole packet, which is, I don't know, how much in a packet?
120 grams maybe?
120 grams for £2. Cut the whole packet into tiny little cubes and stirred it into my soup. Because of the balance of it had speed veg in, it had potato in it, which is a free veg, and because of the added protein, totally food optimized soup and really filling. Now, I will often make vegetable soup, and I say Joe nags at me because of the lack of protein, but I eat it and I really enjoy it. But an hour and a half later, I'm losing that full feeling. Because I added the ham to it, I didn't lose the full feeling. I've seen other people do it where they'll have a couple of slices of ham on the side or dip them in. I'm not. It doesn't work for me that way. I like it all in together. But you could do the same with chicken, couldn't you? You could even fry off some minced beef and add that at the end. Yeah, I'm learning from the guy who keeps reminding me that if you're going to food optimise, Mum, for goodness sake, do it properly. And I do have to watch myself because although I really focus on eating healthy fats, I can sometimes fall down a bit on protein because I'm not the biggest meat eater. In fact, the only meat I've eaten this week is when I've put ham in my soup. And I don't think I've had any eggs this week, have I either? So I do have to watch myself because it's all right having the healthy fats, the avocado, the good cheese and things like that, using good fats in cooking. But if I fall down on the protein, the balance goes totally out of whack. I haven't got the synergy. I'm not food optimising. The weight doesn't come off. And I think if you're at my stage in the game, like you're getting on for 2.5 years at Target, last week I was 8 stone 13. This week I'm back to 8 stone 10.5. If you can actually choose to go back to 100% food optimizing after you've blown it for 3 weeks. Well, I didn't blow it for 3 weeks, but I had 3 weeks worth of gains, which is not like me. So a £3 gain and then 2 £1 gains. If you can still then go back to totally food optimizing, make sure you've got the balance of proteins and, for me, fats, not sugars, then it just proves that, so many people say to me, how do you manage to lose weight when you're at target? How do you manage to lose weight when your weight is already, I won't say low because my weight is right for my height, but when you're not overweight and on that weight loss journey, how do you manage to keep doing that? And the answer is consistency, I suppose, like Debbie says. You have to be consistent on this journey. If you're going to have a meal or a period off plan, when you go back to it, you've got to go back to it 100%. And I think that's what I wasn't doing. I was having maybe a meal off plan and going back to doing it 85%. Watched a really valuable video this week of Nikki Ryan, Fopaholic, and she does a really simple explanation of the Extra Easy plan and how Slimming World works. It's worth watching, because she says focus on your free food. And of course your free food encompasses your speed food, but this is how Nikki does it, and this is why 16 years after losing her weight she's still a Target member.
You've got one more thing that you need to show us.
Oh, I'll let you get that. Nikki says 80% free food, which includes your speed of course, 15% healthy extras, 5% sins. And the reason this plan says 1, 2, 3, and the speed food and the free, encompassing the free food and speed food, comes first, the healthy extras come second, the sins come third, is because you focus on the number 1. Number 2 is important. Number 3 is bloody irrelevant. If you want to use your sins, you use them. It's not wise to go below 5 because you start to feel deprived, but they should be the last things that we think about. And for me, they are the last things I think about, but I think about adding them to my meals, and that works for me. So that's how I stay at target. What am I showing? Or what are you showing?
Well, it's the jam.
Oh yeah, can you hold it in front of the camera?
I'm holding it.
This week I fancied some jam. I haven't had any jam in, God, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years. I just fancied some jam, and I wanted to put it on my crackers. I think what I was fancying was toast and jam, but I thought put jam on your crackers and see how that goes. So Joe found this one in Tesco's. And is it sugar-free or no added sugar?
No added sugar.
No added sugar jam. It's strawberry. I wouldn't usually go for strawberry, but that was the only flavour they had. But what I will say and give it credit for is that it tastes of strawberries. It doesn't taste of sugar or artificial anything.
Yeah, there's almost like...
Can you see the fruit in it?
Per 100 grams, there's only 2.3 grams of sugar.
Which is natural sugar.
Yeah.
This works out at 7 grams for half a sin. Because what Joe does quite often is he'll take out a teaspoon with a proper measure, but then he'll weigh it. Because when you come to doing it again, it is so much easier to weigh 21 grams of jam for 1.5 sins than it is to be faffing around, taking a teaspoon and then trying to get it all out the teaspoon measure. So that's a good tip. We do that with a lot of things. And what you have to remember, we often talk about the fact, not just me, but people on YouTube will talk about the fact that 5 grams is a teaspoon. Well, it's not always. You need to check it. 5 grams of sugar might be a teaspoon because it's a dry good. 5 grams of jam isn't a teaspoon. 7 grams of this jam is a teaspoon. But you only ever have to weigh it once and keep a list. And then when you need a teaspoonful again, it's like if you were using peanut butter. I wouldn't faff around trying to measure a tablespoon of peanut butter every time I wanted to use it. I'd measure it, weigh it, and then keep a list. And the next time I want a tablespoon of peanut butter, I can do it by weight. Because Joe's got really, really accurate scales. My scales only weigh in 2 grams at a time, so I can't use my scales for that. But Joe's got some really, really good scales that really measure fine weights. And we find that is so much easier, because when you're in a rush, or when you're getting the kids ready for school, or you're getting yourself ready for work, and you want a tablespoon of peanut butter or a tablespoon of something, who wants to be faffing around looking for the measures, then trying to put it in and then flatten it and then scrape it out? And just go do that the once, and then afterwards weigh your stuff. It's so much easier. but don't always assume that a tablespoon is 15 grams and a teaspoon is 5 grams, because it's not. Right, I'm going to move on now to talking about my week. I actually was saved by the date this week. Could quite easily have kept sliding on my plan. And then my husband said to me, do you realise it's our wedding anniversary on Wednesday? Oh my God, 31 years. 31 years. Must have been a child bride. Anyway, it made me stop and think about my wedding. What happened? I got married 31 years ago on the 18th of April, and it was 25 degrees. It was a glorious sunny day, and it was nice this week to see the sunshine because it reminded me of the wedding day. But the biggest thing I remember about my wedding day, and I don't want this to sound sad, and I don't have any regrets, I just remember this is how it was. I was not wearing the dress I wanted to wear. And I'll tell you why I wasn't wearing the dress I wanted to wear. I got engaged in May 1986 and I got married in April 1987, so I had the best part of a year to lose some weight. I actually weighed more on my wedding day than I did on the day I got engaged because I kept trying to diet and I kept failing. And I'd been doing that for years. I was 30 when I got married. So you go through the usual process, don't you? You go out with your mates or your mum or whatever, and you go to the wedding dress shop and you try on all these dresses. And I was trying on dresses, some in a size 16, some in a size 18. And I felt like a bloody big cream cake. I didn't want a white wedding dress, I wanted a cream or off-white wedding dress. Because I'm not a person who wears, I don't tend to wear white next to my face. It can make me look a bit washed out. So I went to all these really nice, is it Pronuption and all the, whatever they're called, the really nice high street wedding dresses. I went to Debenhams, I went to John Lewis's and all the, I think I even went to Harvey Nicks. Selfridges. Oh, I tried everywhere. But every dress I put on made me look bigger than I wanted to look, and I could see them. And it also made me feel bigger than I wanted to feel. And most of them at the time in the 80s were very much like big meringue frocks. And I just felt like I didn't want to look like that. Because I like very, very plain things. I wanted a plain wedding dress, and we didn't have the choice back then that the lovely, lovely girls get now. Everything made me look huge. Everything made me look busty. Everything made my bottom half look big because they were all really flouncy. And my bottom half has always been smaller than my top half. Nothing looked right. So I contacted a local dressmaker and asked her to make me a very plain wedding dress, which is what I wanted. So I'm not berating the fact that I ended up with a plain dress. I wanted a plain dress. I just couldn't find one on the high street. But my wedding dress was somewhere between, well, I think it's more of an 18. By the time I got married, yeah, it was an 18. I always dreamt of being like a size 12 bride. I always intended to be a size 12 bride. And I remember on my wedding day thinking, this is really lovely, it's a beautiful day, I'm glad I'm getting married, everything's gone really well, the arrangements for the wedding and the reception and everything went like clockwork, and the Rolls Royce pulled up, and I felt shit because I wasn't wearing the dress. Well, I'm not saying I wasn't wearing the dress I should have been wearing, I wasn't the size I should have been. And it was all down to me. It wasn't anybody else's fault or responsibility, it was all down to me. So I had a half bottle of whiskey, and I literally stood in the hallway with my dad and the chauffeur in all his livery, swigging out of a half bottle of whiskey to make myself feel better. But I never ever shared with anybody anything about how I felt about my size because I was embarrassed. I never even told my best friend how I felt about the size of my wedding dress. I'm going to, can you get that picture, Joe?
The one of you and Dad, or?
Yeah, we'll show that one first. I'm going to show you a picture of me and my husband on our wedding day. They're in the album, so it's all a bit rustly and rattly. But Joe will put it in front of the camera.
I'm trying.
He's trying to find it.
Oh, I found it.
It's just big, holding it in the right.
Clumsy.
It's holding it in the right position because it's in a big album. It weighs a ton, doesn't it? You got it in front of the camera?
Yeah, there you go. So
this is me and my husband Richard on our wedding day 31 years ago this week. Me in my size 18 frock. You'll notice Richard's a bit taller than me. I'm 5'2", he's 6'4.5". So, yeah. Me on my wedding day. And Do you know, I mean, you can't turn the clock back, and it's no good having regrets. But I wish I'd got some of what I've got now before I got married. I wish I'd realised that if I just worked the plan, I could have got to wherever I wanted to be.
The plan was different back then.
Sorry?
Whoa! The plan was different back then.
The plan was different back then. It was red and green, and I never could do it.
No.
Right, can you show the picture of just me? Joe will just show you a picture of me, just me in my wedding dress. The plan was very different back then. I know it's evolved greatly, and I think we're very fortunate at this time in our lives to be doing extra easy, because red was never easy, green was never easy. You always felt like, well, I always felt like I was missing out. Tell me when you've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is me on the day in my size 18 wedding dress. And I guess the big sleeves and the big skirt and everything was trying to hide me inside there. Fashion's very different, and to a lot of you watching, this will look so old-fashioned. But that was me on the day. And looking back, you know, well, I can't look at the pictures now, but I can remember them. Would I feel different about it today if I'd had a size 12 dress? Not today, but I might have felt different on the day. So, yeah, whole experiences. When I look back over my life, you know, there were a couple of times in my life that were really important that I wasn't in the best body. I think I've got a responsibility to myself today to be the best me I can be. And if I'd been the best me I could be on my wedding day, I think I'd have felt very differently when I walked down the aisle. And if I'd been the best me I could be at the time when I decided I wanted children. Now, this is only me speculating. This is only me looking back on my journey. But if I'd been the best me I could be when I decided I wanted children, maybe I wouldn't have had 2 miscarriages. I'm not saying that being overweight when you get pregnant is going to cause anybody to have a miscarriage. I'm only talking about my journey. But I know that being overweight, you know, when I got pregnant the first time and then had a miscarriage, and when I got pregnant the second time and had a miscarriage, I was overweight and very, very unhealthy with very, very poor eating habits.
I'm showing the picture of you and Dad close up.
Which one's that? Where it's just head and shoulders?
Yeah. There's
Do we look funny?
a bit of glare on it. No, I'm just no.
Yeah, when I got pregnant the third time, which is when I got pregnant with Joe, I was so frightened that I was going to have a miscarriage that my eating habits were even worse. And I did have quite an unhealthy pregnancy, and I think if it hadn't been for my acupuncturist, I maybe wouldn't have got through that one. When you look back over life's experiences and you realise that you were so far into the food, you can show a couple more if you can find some worth showing.
We're at 23 minutes.
Okay. When you look back over your life's experiences to a time like I do now, when I was so deep into the food that nothing else mattered. My wedding day didn't matter. My 40th birthday party where I took 10 friends away for the weekend and I felt like the fat front for the whole weekend. Being pregnant 3 times, and I was so far into the food that none of those things really registered with me. They weren't as important to me at the time as the food was. That makes me realise today how far I've come and how far I've turned it around. Because being the best me I can be today, being the happiest me I can be today is actually more important than the food. And it took me a bloody long time to get here. You know, I wasted more than 40 years to get to this place. And if anybody watching these videos can stop doing what they're doing now, i.e. putting the food ahead of living, and turn it around before you get to, you know, into your 30s, into your 40s, into your 50s, or whatever, if this just helps one person to turn it around, then my experiences would have been worth it. But I could actually, it's making me quite emotional. Looking back, my wedding day was fabulous. We had a beautiful wedding. We had a wedding reception at the county cricket ground, Trent Bridge County Cricket Ground. The weather couldn't have been better. Fabulous, wonderful day. The only thing that was wrong was me. The food was more important than the wedding. And I realise now I could have changed that. But no good regretting it. I can't change it today, can I? For them, but I can change it today for the future. all in all, we've had a really good week. We've had a really, really busy week. I apologise if I owe anybody emails. I have been trying to catch up this week. But yeah, going out for lunch today. Sorry, that's my echo. Going out for lunch today, going to my favourite restaurant, going to have a good time. But when it's all done and dusted, I will be 100% back on plan. We've just been to Marks and Spencer's and bought loads of really healthy food. We're going to Sainsbury's later. Our fridge, our freezer, our cupboards are full of on-plan food, and that works for us. So have a great week, and to anybody getting married this weekend,
Well, Mum, quick.
have a glorious time. We'll see you soon. Remember, it works if you work it, won't if you don't. Bye.
Bye.